So you're thinking about doing chickens and you're not really sure what you've gotten yourself into. I'm gonna try to give you an idea of what I do here for my chickens and the minimal input you could have in order to have your own chickens laying eggs for you. Okay, so my story kind of started, I don't know, almost 10, 15 years ago when I asked my kids, hey, what do you want to do for something cool as a project? One of them said bird and bat houses, another one said beehives, another one said chickens and ducks. So eventually one day we got around to doing the chickens and ducks. And this is also a video for YouTube and a podcast. So I'm gonna try to give a lot of words here to describe to you guys on the podcast what's going on, but you can jump over to the video and see it as well. So it started off with this large coop we bought. I went to, Cherokee Feed and Seed, and they had a guy building coops that you could have delivered. And so I bought a coop that is about, I'm gonna call it maybe 10 by 8 by 10. So it's maybe 10 feet long, 10 feet tall, and 8 feet wide. It's a pretty decent coop. What I did, I beefed it up, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. Now, I think if you wanted to do this super minimal, so let's say you live in a HOA protected neighborhood. So it's got the homeowners association covenants and stuff. Typically, they're gonna have in there, they're gonna say no chickens. Sometimes they say no fowl. If they say no fowl, then you can't get around these rules. You can't have any birds because birds are foul. Maybe they even say no birds, but if they say no chickens, then you could do all of this with ducks. Now, here's the thing on ducks. Ducks take to water like a duck takes to water, and so you're gonna need a little pond. Not a pond, but a pool. So I'll show you this and describe it to you. I went to Walmart and I bought a couple of these kiddie pools that are maybe 4 feet in, maybe 3 or 4 feet in diameter. And I fill that up every day, dump it out, and they dunk their face in it and they do their preening and all that stuff. And that's good enough for a couple ducks. So I had at one time 15 ducks, and I had 4 of those pools, and I'd empty them all and then fill them back up. Pretty easy to do. And ducks are not chickens, therefore it gets you by the rules in the HOA. Now, they don't do the cock-a-doodle-doo, so that's great, but they do tend to lay an egg everywhere. So ducks will lay an egg every day, just like a chicken, or almost every day, and you can collect those eggs. They just don't do like a chicken where they put them in the appropriate coop box. So in this coop that I've got, they've got a little side hutch built onto it where the chickens can climb into and lay. Essentially, they want a 1 by 1 by 1 box that's dark, and they'll drop an egg in there, and it's like a cat with a kitty litter box. They just know to go there. So you could do this pretty small. You could get a coop and put 1 or 2 chickens in there. I don't know if I would do 1 chicken. They'd probably get lonely in there, which maybe that's okay. But 2 chickens is good. If you go to Tractor Supply or somewhere similar, then they should have the ability to buy chickens that are sexed. And that means that somebody has inspected the chicken to see if it's a female or a male. The weird part about chickens is, and I guess with probably all birds, their sex parts are on the inside. I guess it's for being aerodynamic or something. But there's nothing dangling, so you can't tell. You actually have to well, there's one way you can look at them when they're young, and you can look at their feathers, which seems to be pretty accurate. Another way is you actually sort of you press on their area, and if a penis comes out, then it's a male. So you'll know. Anyway, you want hens because roosters don't lay eggs. Now, on the other side of it is if you're going to let your hens free range like I do, then a rooster does a pretty good job of letting everybody know, hey, there's something bad out here, so run. I have never been able to defeat Mother Nature. Mother Nature wins every time. And we've done netting, motion-sensitive lights, reflective, streamers, DVDs, whatever, anything. I've tried everything, fake owls, you name it. I've tried it, and Mother Nature laughs. It scoffs in my face and says, I will come to the McCann buffet farm and take all the chickens I want. So the last thing we did, which has seemed to work really well, is security cameras. No, I did do security cameras, and that didn't work. it's getting a Great Pyrenees, and I let him out here. I should have put him out here a little sooner so he doesn't chase the flock around, but he still does, and they're faster than him, so he never gets to eat them. Actually, one time it looked like he could have grabbed one, but he didn't, so maybe he knows he shouldn't eat them. Anyway, Great Pyrenees is an awesome livestock guardian dog, but just like the name infers, great means they're huge, and if you don't have the yard for them to poop in, then their poop becomes a whole nother problem. And so it's just, what problem do you want to solve? I have found that Mother Nature takes about 90% of the chickens if I don't protect them, and I would like eggs. So we've upped our game, and I don't have to solve the problem of poop because we've got some open space that we back into that the chickens and the dogs can run around in, so he poops out there a lot. Anyway, for the chickens, you could have a medium coop and then put 2 chickens in there, and they're gonna live just fine. If you're gonna put them on the inside and not let them out, then you're gonna need to churn the bottom layer of whatever is down here on the bottom, the mulch, the poop. So they're gonna sit on these roosts, and they're just, every once in a while, they're gonna crap, and that is gonna cause a problem. So mine free range, so the smell inside the coop is not very bad. They don't poop that much in here, just when they're sleeping, and it's relatively clean. They'll actually come in here and like kick around, and I'll throw seeds into the coop so they kick it around and kind of turn it over for me. And every once in a while I'll put a new layer of mulch or chips in here for them. But pretty much I just let it alone, and they run out here to poop. So if you're gonna keep them in a coop, then you're gonna run into problems with mites and other things that'll come up if you have too many. If you keep it with a large volume of space for them to move around in, then those problems go down. So 2 chickens in a coop like I've got would be totally fine. You could get a large dog house and put a chicken in there. I don't think they're gonna have a great time, but they will lay you an egg. I think you'll run into other problems where they'll get fatty deposits because they're not moving around. Now, I guess on that, ours do run everywhere, and they're like little dinosaurs running around looking for insects, avoiding hawks, whatever. And we will process the roosters because roosters don't lay eggs. And you should only have 1 rooster for every 10 hens so they don't ruin their back. Actually, I'll find one that it's mating season right now, and so times are tough for the girls. And so we will cull out the roosters. Yes, thank you. I have tried to feed my family the roosters, and they're like, "Dad, this meat is so tough." It's because they're out and about, and they eat insects, so they're not like getting super fat, and they're still being super strong. So their meat's pretty tough. So nobody in the family really wants to eat it, and I haven't found a great way to get it down their gullets. But on the flip side, I've got a livestock guardian dog. So Ollie, the Great Pyrenees, loves chicken. Retta, our German Shepherd, and Finn, our Labrador Retriever, Black Lab, mix of some sort. They love eating chicken because it tastes like chicken. And so I'll process the roosters and give them to them. Now, I have found that if you're gonna let them free range, and you're watching the video, you've already noticed this, that their predominant chicken color is dark. Yeah, there's Mr. Rooster right there. He is currently controlling the flock. This guy right here, I forgot the name of it. Charity and Andrew gave him to me. He was a rooster they had bought. They meant for him to be a hen, but again, they don't always know when they give him to you. And he is all black everywhere. It's got a name, a special name, and I can't think of it. But his comb is black, his legs are black, his beak is black, and if you were to process him, his insides would be black. I am trying to get his genetic traits to go down the line, and so far it's working. I've got a set of like 3-month-old chickens over here, and if you were to zoom in, you would see that a lot of them have black combs. I don't know if that's going to be the genetic, like, hey, this is my kid type thing, but I'm guessing because most combs I've ever seen are red. So that's probably his kids. So it's working. And I got a couple more, I think maybe 20 more in the other coop that I built that are like 3 weeks old. Anyway, you can make this easy on yourself just by having 2 chickens with a large coop. Put it in the back. It looks like a doghouse or a kid's playhouse, and they do their thing and no one's going to be the wiser. Now, chickens, when they lay an egg, will make noise. They're not a rooster. They're just clucking because they're putting a golf ball out their cloaca. And the cloaca is their one hole to rule them all. So they've got poop, pee, and birthing canal is all the same canal. So they're, of course, going to make noise when an egg comes out every day. It's usually not too bad, but sometimes you get an oversized egg or a double yolk egg, and the girls will let you know that they are not happy. Okay, so chickens do not have to be tough. In this video right here, you can see one of the ducks is in a rain-filled tub doing his thing. Totally fine. I only have 1 duck left. He's a male, and so I had meant to process him and his 2 buddies about a year ago and just never got around to it. So somebody came and took them, probably some coyotes at night or a raccoon. They typically don't put themselves away. All right, if you're gonna free range your chickens, I would recommend getting one of these auto doors. Just Google auto door or look on Amazon or whatever. I like this one, the omelet door. The thing that I would have watched out for on the omelet door is to make sure I create a place where the dirt wouldn't get in the track. So every once in a while, it doesn't work. When I rely on this to work, it sucks when it doesn't work, especially if it traps them on the outside, then they are gonna die. So I would get an auto door, and this omelet one, it's got a control device where it's sensing the sunlight, so it's opening the doors based on the amount of light that's out there, which can stink because if you get a really dark day, like a super cloudy day, then it may never open, in which case I gotta come down here and do it. But the other feature that I like is there's a LED light associated with it, and it'll turn on to highlight the fact that, hey, it's about time. You have a 10-minute warning to get in this door. And the chickens, if they're not already in there, they all go, oh no, it's time. And they'll run over here and jump in the door. And that's great. So I also feed the chickens. I have found, weirdly, that not all chicken food is created equal. I feed them so they know to come back. It's like a teenage boy. Hey, if you feed me, I'll be here forever. The weight of the man's heart is his stomach, right? So I feed them so they come back. But if you're watching the video, you can see they're out here kicking and nibbling. They've got a pretty nice natural defense for most predators, not coyotes in this case, but most of the birds, or even the Great Pyrenees. They can come into this little thicket area. It's what do you call those? Honeysuckle and briars, and they can move pretty well in here. But hawks are great in flight. They're not so good on their 2 feet. The chickens are great on their 2 feet. They don't really fly much. They kind of jump high. So they use this as their defensive zone. Even the duck's in here doing his thing, I guess acting like a chicken. But it's nice for them to have a place to go to run away from the bad guys. I know not everyone's gonna have this interesting setup where they've got property around them, but you can manufacture that with just some trees or some shrubs that they can run into. Like if you have a fenced in yard, you can put some shrubs on the edge of it and they can run the edge of the yard if you want them to free range. If you have a dog, they're gonna chase them. It's just fun and that's what they do. If you've got a livestock guardian dog or some sort of herding dog, they're probably gonna be better at this. They'll probably, a little terrier may try to actually make the chickens go where he wants them to go, which I suppose could be irritating. But anyway, I have got a bunch of buckets out here. I've got, I don't know, maybe 10 Tractor Supply buckets. They're 5-gallon buckets. What I tried doing is taking some grains, putting them in the bucket, throwing a bunch of water, or filling it with water and letting them ferment so that the chickens could have some sprouting and fermented seeds. It was okay. They liked it. It was just an expensive trial, so I stopped that for now. I do use a double sealing method, so I've got some 5-gallon buckets from, where is this from? The Bread Beckers in downtown Woodstock, or just north of downtown Woodstock. That's got these cool gamma lids, which basically is just a lid with a screw on it, so you can screw it down and take it off. And then I take a tub from Tractor Supply, and I put it over the top of it. So basically it's got kind of a double covering. When I didn't have the tub on top, the rain would find its way into the bucket and it would ruin the food. So this double method keeps the rain out. If you are going to do something like that, I would actually recommend going with a metal trash can and a heavy lid or some way to secure a lid down, because rodents are the bane of all things, right? They will get into everything, and if it's plastic, they're going to eat a hole in it. So they haven't eaten a hole in these. I'm not sure exactly why. Usually they come in, well, I guess it's not spring. And I put some traps out here for them, so maybe I've killed them off a bit. But yeah, so you can do chickens in your neighborhood, in your house. Check the HOA rules. You don't have to make it complicated. A chicken will lay for about 2 years, and it takes about 6 months for them to start laying eggs. So, thank you. And when they're done laying eggs, you can do whatever you want with them. If you name them, then harvesting may not be a thing you're gonna do, because that became a pet. I suppose you could drop them off at my house and they could live out here in the wilderness. And like I said, I don't feed them much. They're out here scratching and picking, so they feed themselves. So my costs are relatively low. I would say you could consider, if you have 2 of them, you could probably get away with spending maybe $40 in a month on food. You could also, this is kind of fun, you can feed them all sorts of table scraps. And they're smart enough to know that if I shouldn't eat it, I probably shouldn't eat it. And they just won't, and they'll leave it there. I mean, they're omnivores. They'll eat whatever. I've seen them eat mice. Okay, so the other thing I would do with these guys is help them to get to know you. So come out here and feed them. I do this thing. I yell, "Hey, chickens," and I throw out some seeds so they know that I'm not the enemy. They also get very... they can be well trained, so they know where to go to stay safe. So the video shows this, but what I'm looking at here is a garden area that we had built to keep the deers out. After realizing that I actually hate gardening, I should have not spent the money on it. We've turned it into a chicken sanctuary. So there's an auto door and a human door. They can come in and out through the auto door, and right now, the chickens are relocating themselves. So I purchased a second coop from Cherokee Feed and Seed, and I have it over here. And I put them in this guy to live for a while, and they have all moved out and are now living in this larger garden area, which is totally fine. I don't care where they live. I just want them to know to go somewhere. And this actually works out for me because I want to take the next generation, which is still in the coop that I built. They're about to outgrow that, and I want to move them somewhere else. And that somewhere else would be great if it was in this other coop that I bought from Cherokee Feed and Seed, but I can't put them in there unless the 3-month-old chicks or teenagers move into the garden area. So this is actually working pretty good for me. Anyway, they do poop a lot, and you can use that as a composting component, but you can't like take hot chicken poop and put it directly into your garden. When I say hot, that means it's just like, got all the bacteria and stuff in it. It hasn't been out to compost. So one thing that I have done as a chicken dies, or if I get a lot of compost, I'll come back to these garden boxes that we had built, and I will throw the material in the garden box. So you can actually see that, like, here is the pelvis for a chicken that died. Actually, kind of gross. There's a foot for a chicken I buried. I'm not sure what happened there. Why is the foot out? But they'll biodegrade down there. And then for my gardening, what I do now is I go to the store, I buy a bunch of seeds, and I mix them together there, and I throw them in here and see what grows. I know that's terrible, but it's better than not doing anything. And you can see in here I've got some beans already growing. Maybe they're growing too soon. I don't know. I covered them with some, I've got a 4x4 with some chicken wire on it, so the chickens actually don't go in there and eat the plants by the roots, but I do want the garden to grow through it so they can jump up there and have some fresh greens if they want it. I don't know. They have all these other greens out here, so I don't know why they would do that, and maybe we can garden. So in the video here, I've got one of these omelet coops, which I wouldn't recommend them. My wife thought it'd be a good idea, so she bought them so we can move them around. And we quickly realized that the idea of tractoring a coop around is not something that I will do. So it was a really good idea, except for the fact that I just won't do it. So if you find you won't do a thing, don't keep doing it. Come up with another solution. So these chickens work out great for me because, like a cat, they kind of take care of themselves out here in the woods. And kind of like a dog, they come to the food. Maybe a cat does that too. I don't have a cat, so I don't really know what they do. And they'll take care of themselves. So it doesn't have to be crazy difficult. You really just need a place for them to live, and then give them some food and water, and they're going to be good. Chickens know how to take care of themselves. I would get a large space, double the space that maybe they say that you should have, so that they can have the room to move around and not get diseases from being stationary like us humans. And I would give them at least 2 chickens so that they have companionship of some sort. Everything's better with a friend. And everything is awesome when you're part of a team. Okay, other things. So they'll lay an egg about maybe 0.9 eggs every day. So you're going to get an egg almost every day, but not exactly. So maybe 6 days a week you'll get an egg. All right, so the coop, what I was going to mention before, how I beefed it up. I originally just put the coop straight on the ground, and what I found was water comes in, the wood does its thing, it sucks it up, and so the bottom is rotting out. So I added some support, creating a 2-sided coop that has a windbreak. So I actually built a wall out of plywood on one large side and then one of the smaller sides. So 2 sides are very much walled in. A third side is sort of walled in, and then the last side is completely open, giving them lots of air and breeze. Okay. I also took a bunch of bricks that I had laying around from when we did some construction, and I lined the bottom of the coop with the bricks, and then had my sons help me lift the coop up and over so we could get them on the bricks. This is going to keep them out of the water and help the coop stay around a lot longer, so just protecting the investment. So I probably would have done that ahead of time. Plus, there's another side benefit. What I really would have done is take either cinder blocks or those larger squares. Let me go find one over here. So you can go to Home Depot and buy these masonry units right here. It's just a 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 inch little square walking platform. I would have bought a bunch of those and lined this thing. That way, 1, the coop is sitting on top of cement, which is going to keep the water off of it. It won't just be on the ground with water. And then 2, because it's got some depth to it, animals that want to get under the coop and in are going to have to dig a lot longer. And so it's going to keep them out. So what I did, because I hadn't thought of that before, I actually laid down some, what would you call this? It's not chicken wire. So it's like fencing wire. I laid fencing wire around like a skirt on the coop, so that if somebody came digging to get in, they'd have to get through, what is this, 3 feet of fencing wire. And I don't know many animals are going to take that much time. Plus, I've got motion sensitive lights out here, so if somebody came out here to dig, eventually when I get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, I'd see the light on, and my bathroom window looks right over the chickens, so I could, and I'm out in the country. Well, I'm not in Woodstock proper yet, and so you can still shoot a gun out here, so I could shoot a coyote if I needed to. The other thing I think I would give you is placement. Originally, we had this in the front yard off to the side, and it was just kind of inconvenient. We'd see them as we drove up, but I could never really get out here. And so now I put them off to the side, which is kind of more inconvenient, and I don't come out here that much. But I brush my teeth at least twice a day. And when I brush my teeth, I can look out the window and I can see them. So I think it makes for a better opportunity for me to just kind of check in on them and see what's happening. Another way you could have done this is maybe do a Wi-Fi camera, which I tried to do some cameras out here, and then the elements just attacked it and ate it, and it didn't work very well. So nature always wins. Maybe a camera that was pointing outside my bathroom window would have been smarter. Anyway, I have also tried to catch predators. I've got some predator traps, some live traps, and not a single predator has ever gone in there, but the chickens have gone in there, which is a pain in the butt. All right, moving on to some other ideas. If you have chickens and you are going to hatch your own eggs, you can buy incubators online, and it's a pretty simple process. They need to keep the eggs at 100 degrees. They need a 50% moisture, and they need to rotate the eggs. You can do that manually, which is kind of a pain, or you can get something that'll auto rock them. And in 23 days, you can take eggs that have a rooster. So you have to have a rooster to make this work, right? Hopefully you guys know what that is all about. So the eggs that I've got are all fertilized. Big deal. You eat them, it looks just like an egg. It's just, you could tell if you crack an egg open and you look at the yolk will have a little white dot. That means it is fertilized and ready to create a chicken. Cool thing about chicken eggs that most people don't know is you could take those eggs and leave them on your counter for like 3 months and they'll be totally fine. Because when a chicken lays an egg, they put a membrane around it that is airtight. So these things are just like awesome and ready to go. If you put them in the refrigerator, you are going to kill the egg, or I don't know, the mitosis, the sperm and whatever that's supposed to happen. So once you put them in the refrigerator, they'll never hatch. But if you leave them out, you can decide, hey, I think I'd like to hatch them, which has happened to me one time. We had some coyotes come and kill almost everybody, but I had a bunch of eggs. So I just put them in the incubator, and 23 days later, I had my next batch of chickens ready to go. Anyway, you can leave the eggs out. They're totally fine. If you wash them, then you're going to take the coating off and you need to put them in the refrigerator. I have got an experiment going on right now where I am taking eggs and putting the date on them, and I'm trying to get like 6 months worth of delayed eggs, and then put 40 eggs that are some amount of 6 months old and younger, put them in the incubator and see which ones actually hatch. I'm imagining that all of them are going to hatch. Nature has this funny way of persisting, and I bet you they all hatch. Anyway, so you can collect your eggs, leave them out on the counter, hand them off to friends. They're going to think it's weird because you didn't put them in the refrigerator, and it's totally okay. These guys are going to give you eggs. It'll be great. All right, for the roosters, if you're going to create your own chickens out of eggs, 50% of the time it's going to be a rooster. Roosters don't lay eggs, and you can't have that many roosters out here. Oh, I meant to show you. Yeah, this is a meat bird. So it is a very large and white bird. She loves me because I feed her, so she usually comes out and hangs out, except I already fed her, so she might go away. Her back, you can sort of see, it looks like it's half plucked. And part of that is because she's a meat bird and her feathers are kind of wonky. But the other part is the roosters were mounting her like crazy and just tearing off those feathers. So the roosters will jump up, and they've got claws on their feet, so they're gonna grab onto the chicken, as well as use their beak to grab the back of their head, and all of that creates hair loss or feather loss. If you're going to process your roosters, what I have found is grab them at night, so they'll be on the roosting bar in the coop, and I'll reach in and grab one, and I'll put them in this dog kennel that I've got, so it's a little dog crate, and I'll throw them in there in the night. I've got a little a piece of wood in there so they can perch on it. I usually do 2 at a time, so I'll throw 2 in there and I'll lock the door. The reason I do it at night is because they are very docile and they don't know what's happening. You can reach right in there, put your hand under them, and they'll almost step right on your hand. Typically what I do is I will grab their feet and their neck at the same time, and then I'll tip them upside down and just hold their neck like tight-ish. And the reason for that is when they go upside down, they're gonna wanna crow and make noise. And if you hold their neck, you can, as they try to like cockle-doo-doo or whatever, you can just sort of like squeeze a little bit, and it makes them like rebreathe, and they stop doing it. So no, I'm not saying choke them out. I'm just saying stop them from crowing in the middle of the night. And then I put them in the crate, and then in the morning I'll come get them. This helps them not have food in their stomach during the day. If you wait a little bit of time, they're gonna be totally fine, especially if you're gonna harvest them. They don't need to eat and drink all the time. But anyway, so then we have some cones that you just basically put them upside down in a cone, let them hang out there for a little bit. They'll calm down, and then there's a whole process to getting them sorted. That's a whole other video or podcast. But basically, the trick is you get them at night, put them in another crate, and it just makes them easier to get a hold of. If you try to capture them during the day, they are, I mean, they're going to run from you. They know all of a sudden something's up. You're coming too close and they're slippery. They're just going to just stroll right away. So you're not going to be able to capture them. All right. I think that kind of covers everything. If you have questions, put it in the comments. I'll try to get to them or make another video on what I do and why I do it. Most of this is trial and error. And here's that guy. He's all black. I love this guy. Yeah, most of it is all trial and error. I do watch videos and I listen to other people, but there's nothing better than just going and experiencing it. Obviously, they're living creatures, so don't be stupid and not feed them for a week. They're gonna die. Now, I guess on that point, we have gone on vacation, and the auto doors, make sure I've changed the batteries out, make sure I clean off the rails so it's gonna work properly. I'd say that the auto doors work 99% of the time. They are awesome. And it's usually just when the battery gets low. So switch out the batteries, clean off the rails. I'll put out extra food, put out extra water, and then we'll go for a week. And these guys are totally fine on their own. Now, again, they free range, so they can get out and about and do whatever they want. When we come back, the count is a little lower, and that's okay. I realize that Mother Nature needs its 90% tithe. So it's not a tithe. Tithe is 10%. So whatever 90% is, I'm keeping my tithe. But guys, don't be afraid of this. It's actually pretty dang simple. It's like having a parrot in your house. It's not that much work. I wouldn't put them in your house. Put them outside, get a larger coop, and get 2 of them. And then see how it goes. If you decide, I hate this, give your chickens to me. I'll put them in my backyard. They'll live for a little bit and have a free life. The coop, if you bought one and you don't like it, just put some gas on it and burn it down. Or you can go on Facebook Marketplace and sell it to somebody. Actually, I would recommend maybe buying one from there. That way you get a coop that kind of somebody's already used and you can get some good dimensions out of it. The feed and seed stores are a great resource for you. Usually the guys not only will sell you the stuff, but they're pretty knowledgeable. So don't hesitate to ask them. Tractor Supply is a little bit iffy. They're just normal people doing normal jobs. They don't usually actually do chickens and horses and cows and all that. They just work there as a job. At the feed and seeds, typically they actually do this stuff. So it's not just a job, but it's a lifestyle for them as well. All right, guys, hopefully you find this helpful. If you need me for anything, of course, you can find my podcast. CrossFit Garage is the name of the podcast. And it's, our basic principle is helping you build a firm foundation in fitness, food, and finances. And then on YouTube, if you search for @AndyMcCann42, you'll find all the videos that I do, this long format one, as well as shorts and some lives. Or if you're in Woodstock, you can come to our gym, CrossFit Garage, and you can find us online as well as CrossFitGarage.com. But come down, join the gym. We are happy, humble, helpful people who want to be healthy and fit now, as well as in our 90s. And if that sounds like you, then you're one of us. Come on in.